What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. Finally got some nice weather outside today, so I'm gonna be working in the garage today. So let's head out there because the Challenger needs a oil change. So that's what we're gonna do today. All right, well, I've arrived underneath the car, only to find that normally there's a belly pan. It attaches there and up here. Apparently that's gone. I'm pretty sure I still had it when I had these headers installed, but yeah, it's definitely not here now. So, all right, one last thing we got to take off. So this will be my oil drain plug, and let's see what tools I brought. See if I brought the right one. So 13 millimeter. It looks like it'll be too small. Nope, 13 millimeter. I was right on the money. So let me get a wrench on that. Make sure it's set up to go the right way. My drain pan nearby, so whenever I do crack this sucker, and let's give it a good push. Oh, it's really on there. May have to resort to a breaker bar, or at least push that out of the way for a second. Oh, am I going the right way? Yeah, I was going the wrong way. Oh, so now I got to set up totally different for how I'm going to do this. Well, I crack this loose. All right, I had to totally change my position to crack that loose. Now it's cracked loose. And go ahead and get ready for oil to dump out of it, which I don't have a rag right now, so I'm going to go get a rag. All right, just a few more turns, and this is going to dump oil all over my hand, and hopefully most of it ends up in this drain pan. Yep, there's the first sign of oil. And as predicted, I'm now wearing oil. So this is the position of my oil filter. And again, well, all right, here. I have a number of different wrenches. Here's the one I'm using today. It's basically a strap. As you pull it to one side, you can see that it tightens the circle up, and that's how it works. Now, I'm definitely going to end up turning this backwards a couple of times in my attempt to get this turning off the right way, so just hang on while I do that. All right, thankfully that wasn't too tight, so you got it broken loose. I got to get my pan under it. And I'm almost definitely going to get wet again. Oh, there it goes. So yeah, once you get it to a certain level, it starts leaking over the top of it. There's no way not to get oil all over you with this oil filter and placement. But I've seen much worse. So we'll just let that relieve the pressure for a while and come back to it. This is the same thing with the oil pan, slowly leaking out. Once that's done, we can put the drain plug back in it. But we'll go ahead and give this another couple of turns. Yeah. I really hate this part. But right about here is where I start to realize how spoiled I am with my job. And that's pretty much why I haven't done a lot of working on cars around the house since getting that job, is because having lifts to do stuff like this on is so much better than laying on your back on the floor of the garage. So we'll let some more oil drain out of that, and then we'll come back. All right. It's about time to make the big mess. Try and keep this upright once it comes fully loose, so that I dump the bare minimum of it on myself. And there we go. Could have gone much worse. This pan here has a nice little hooky deal on it for an oil filter, but fortunately this car holds a ton of oil, so yeah, so that's kind of underwater right now, but it'll be all right once we get this draining these out. So that's where the oil filter mounts to, of course. You've seen lots of these. I've seen lots of these. But yeah, we'll go ahead and let it slowly leak out a little more oil, and then we'll start capping stuff up and go topside and put the oil in. So we're going with a K&N Performance Gold oil filter on it, if for no other reason than it has that socket thing on the top of it to make taking it on and off easier. So if you've never done this before, one of the things you want to do is this rubber seal is going to keep the oil inside the oil filter and not outside and dripping on the floor. So to keep that seal, to make that seal go nice and tight, you want to like pre-oil it. So either takes like some of your new oil or even some of your old oil, you just dip your finger in it, rub it around the edge. I'll show you how that works real quick. So like I said, I'll take my rag and my filter over here so I don't make a mess while I do this. Just dip my finger in this oil and apply it to the seal all the way around, because you don't want to put that rubber on there dry, because it could bunch up and you'll end up with leaks and stuff like that. Trust me on this. So I'll go ahead and put this back up in this hole. And I'll come back in a minute and tighten that for real. In the meantime, we'll take our oil drain plug and bring it over to the rag here. We need 2 hands for this. You don't want any foreign contaminants on your oil, so I wipe that off real good with the towel, and then go ahead and throw that in here, even though it's still dripping a little bit. And once we get it nice and hand tight, we can go ahead and remove these 2 bins that are holding all my oil. So that's all I've spilled, which thankfully pretty much all ended up on this yoga mat that's kind of been sitting under my car forever. but we'll just go ahead and clean up the standing oil at least. And shove that right on out of the way over to where it was. And flip the lever on the socket wrench, and we'll go ahead and tighten our drain plug. But first, we need to clean it up. So basically everywhere that we dripped oil as we were, you know, pulling out these plugs and stuff like that, we're gonna go ahead and wipe down so it doesn't collect dirt and dust and stuff. And it's pretty clean, so we did pretty good that time. Let's go ahead and tighten this drain plug. And I'll give it like one more good push, and we'll call it good. All right, well, I've made 2 trips back and forth to the toolbox trying to figure out what size this is. I'm not having any luck. I'm just going to go ahead and use the filter wrench. It'll be fine. All right, so filter's tight. And yeah, in the past, I would have normally taken opened up one of the quarts of oil and popped that in and filled up the oil filter before installing it up into the car, but in the sake of time and laziness, I'm not going to do that today. So let's go ahead and get the car off the lift. Well, pardon me, let's go ahead and get the car off the jack stands and put a couple of these tools away, and then we'll go ahead and put the oil in. So my oil filter neck, or my oil filler neck, is here. Is it 520? All right, because of the supercharger, I have some kind of boost pipe here half covering my oil filler, and the oil filler goes to this line that runs down here, I believe, to this oil cooler that's down here in the bottom. Anyway, let's get the cap off of it and find a decent funnel so we can put the oil in, because I'm running out of time before the race. And of course, because I'm the one doing this, something went wrong, which is I bought the wrong kind of oil. It should be 5W20, not 5W30. So I'm gonna have to run to the store and change it. And brings me to my next point, which is whenever you're working on a car, it's a good idea to have another car as backup in case you need to go get parts. So let's go hop in the Jeep and see if we can't change this oil out and get it swapped over before time runs out. I gotta go. And we're back with 5W20. So we'll go ahead and dump this in, but I have about a half an hour before the race starts, so we really got to start getting it done. And once again, it wouldn't be me doing this if everything went correctly. So this bottle here is not real conducive to pouring. Likes to bubble and spurt out because it won't let enough air into the inlet. The filler neck for the Whipple here, just move that, it's pretty much the same problem. It just won't take oil in fast enough, so I ended up dumping a bunch of oil all over the place. So it's up here on my valve cover. A lot of it up here on my valve cover, and running down the side of my valve cover and, in fact, everywhere else. So whenever we do start this back up, it's gonna smoke like there's no tomorrow for a while. So after we test this out, we're gonna have to take it on a long drive to clear up the spilled oil, which somehow is also up here. All right, let's go ahead and put 2 more quarts in here, nice and slow, and then we'll get to watching the race. Now see, this bottle has a much more appropriate design. See, no splashing, no bubbles. So we'll just slowly pour that in. And then 1 more bottle, and then we'll be pretty much done. So now we're gonna start the engine up. Watch your oil pressure, watch underneath, make sure it doesn't leak. And once we let it run a little bit, we'll check the oil level on the dipstick. So let's get a cold start going. And we'll run through the settings here. I don't think that's accurate. .56 PSI is pretty much on target. Normally have this belt squeak up here. It's nothing to be alarmed about. Yeah, like I said, that's going to smoke a bit with all the oil I got on the valve cover. And it's going to stink up the garage too. Don't see any leaks underneath. That's from me spilling. But the valve train sounded nice and quiet, so we'll go ahead and check our level. I don't want to run it too much in here with all that smoke, particularly not royal purple smoke, because that's even stinkier than normal oil. Here's my dipstick. Oh, and it's in there good, so I'm gonna get another. I'm gonna need 2 hands. So the oil level looks good. Go ahead, put the dipstick back in. But man, if that isn't the tightest dipstick of all time. So we're just gonna leave this as it sits, and we're gonna go inside and watch the race. So I am all set. I've got my French onion with bacon chip dip. I got a Pepsi. Race starts, well, the pre-race starts, it depends which part you look at. Either starts in 3 minutes and 5 seconds or 32 seconds. So that's how I'm gonna spend my day. They're trying to run this race before the coronavirus quarantine lockdown starts in Florida, which is tomorrow, or technically today at midnight. So they're running this race today instead of tomorrow. But I don't know if any of you guys follow Cletus McFarland. Let me know if you do. But I really dig this guy. This race is going to be awesome. So the Freedom 500 is in the books. I'm not going to tell you how it ends because you didn't pay for it or you already know. So we'll get back out to the garage and get back to work. All right, so now I'm going to take my used oil here, and thankfully this pan has a spout on the front of it. And I'm going to put it into my empty Royal Purple containers here and take them back to the store. Because in case you didn't know, you can take used motor oil back to most of your major auto parts stores, Murray's, or pardon me, O'Reilly, Advance, pretty much all of them. You can take it in and they recycle the oil for you. So I'm definitely going to need two hands to do this, and I'm probably going to spill it even with using two hands. So I'm going to put the camera down. All right, well, it's starting to get chilly. It's not cold, which is a good thing, but it is kind of chilly. So pack it in for tonight and finish this up tomorrow. And since I'm not going to take them back to the store tonight, I'm pretty much going to end it off here. We'll take the car out for a rip another day, probably tomorrow or something like that. So until then, like, share, subscribe, any of that stuff, and I'll see you next time.